Your cat sleeping on your bed every night isn't what you think it is, and animal behaviorists who have studied feline sleep for decades have found that this one nightly habit is quietly reshaping your cat's emotional architecture in ways that most owners only discover when something has already gone wrong. Most people assume that a cat curling up at their feet is the clearest sign of love their cat can give them. But what nobody tells you is that the cats who feel the most deeply secure around their humans rarely sleep directly on them at all. And understanding why is going to change how you read everything your cat does in this space. There's one thing most co-sleeping cat owners will never get to experience, and we'll get to it near the end of this video. It might be the most important thing about how your cat loves you that you've never been shown. Here's what most people have wrong about this. The image of a cat curled up on your chest at 2 a.m. has been sold to us as the ultimate proof of feline affection. It shows up on greeting cards, it fills social media, and because it feels warm and close and reciprocal, we assume it means exactly what it looks like, that our cat trusts us completely, loves us deeply, and is choosing us the way we choose them. But most owners who sleep with their cats have been reading the signal backwards for years, and their cats have been trying to tell them something the whole time. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, every single night in a language most of us never learn to hear. Before we get into the 10 reasons, I want to plant something in your mind. Keep it there, because later in this video, we are going to come back to it, and it is going to make everything click. The question is this: what does it actually mean when your cat wants to be close to you, but not touching you? Hold on to that, because the answer is something most co-sleeping owners never get to discover, and it is the clearest signal your cat will ever give you. 1. The sleep disruption you don't remember happening. In a moment, I'm going to show you what this really means for your brain and your cat's brain, but first, here's the part most owners never notice. You probably think that if you wake up feeling fine, your sleep wasn't disturbed. That's not how sleep science works. Cats are crepuscular animals. That means their biology is wired for peak activity at dawn and at dusk, not during the long, still hours of the night when your body is doing its deepest repair work. A 2017 study published in the Mayo Clinic Proceedings looked at over 50 cat owners and found that 41% of them rated their cats as disruptive to their sleep. But the actual disruption measured by the study was significantly higher than what participants consciously reported. The reason is that many sleep disruptions happen at the micro level, pulling people out of deep sleep into lighter stages without ever fully waking them. They don't remember it, but their body knows. Think about that for a second. Your cat is padding across your legs at 3 a.m. You don't wake up, but your brain moves from stage 3 sleep, the deep, restorative stage, back to stage 1. You lose 20-30 minutes of repair sleep you didn't even know you needed. Night after night, this is the invisible tax of co-sleeping. And it isn't just you paying it. To your cat, you're shifting, your breathing changes, you're rolling over. These are disruptions too. Cats in the wild sleep in short, alert bursts, never fully surrendering to deep sleep for long. When your cat sleeps on or against you, they are synchronizing to your movements, your warm fluctuations, your restlessness. Most owners go their cat's entire life never realizing that the place they gave their cat to sleep was also the place that kept their cat from sleeping deeply. And deep sleep, for a cat, is not a luxury. It is how they process the day, consolidate their sense of safety, and maintain the neurological balance that makes them confident, calm, and emotionally stable animals. 2. The allergen exposure most people completely overlook. Here's where it gets really interesting, and this one applies to you even if you are completely certain you are not allergic to cats. Most people think the allergen conversation is simple. If you are allergic to cats, don't sleep with them. If you aren't allergic, you're fine. But here's what most people don't realize. The primary cat allergen, a protein called FeLD1, produced in your cat's saliva and skin glands, becomes airborne when your cat grooms and then sheds. During 8 hours of sleep with your face in close proximity to a cat, you are inhaling concentrated amounts of this protein continuously, even if you have no diagnosed allergy whatsoever. A 2019 study from researchers at Uppsala University found that exposure to FeLD1 during sleep hours can trigger low-level inflammatory responses in people with No prior allergy diagnosis responses that are subclinical, meaning they exist below the threshold that produces noticeable symptoms, but that accumulate over years of nightly exposure. The result, in some cases, is a sensitization process where your immune system quietly builds a reaction that won't announce itself until it is already well established. This isn't about fear. This is about information most owners were simply never given. Your cat is not doing anything wrong. They are grooming themselves the way they are biologically designed to. But the 8-hour window, when your airways are relaxed and your defenses are low, is the worst possible time to be the closest surface to a cat who has just spent the evening grooming. Most owners go decades without connecting a growing sensitivity to morning congestion, disrupted breathing, or low-grade fatigue to the warm, purring body at their feet every night. And by the time the connection becomes obvious, the sensitization has already been building for years. 3. The parasite and pathogen reality. Stay with me here, because the next one is the one that changes how you think about your cat's daily life and your nightly sleep. And I want to be clear, this is not about making you afraid of your cat. It is about understanding a risk that most vets mention once and most owners immediately set aside. Cats who have any access to the outdoors, even occasionally, are potential carriers of parasites, including Toxoplasma gondii, a microscopic organism whose eggs can be shed in feline feces and, in rare cases, transfer to humans through contact with contaminated fur. Cats who hunt even occasionally can carry ringworm, a highly contagious fungal infection that spreads through direct skin contact. And your bed, particularly your pillow, is the surface in your home where your face spends 8 hours in direct contact with whatever is on your cat's coat. This doesn't mean your cat is dangerous. Your cat is extraordinary. But the risk calculus changes significantly when co-sleeping is involved. A 2022 report from the Centers for Disease Control examined documented cases of zoonotic transmission disease passed from animals to humans and found that a disproportionate number involved bed-sharing pets. Indoor-only cats who are regularly dewormed and on flea prevention represent a much lower risk. But most owners have never clearly asked themselves, what does my cat touch before they come to bed? And am I doing enough to account for that? To your cat, the bed is simply the safest, warmest place in their territory. In cat language, sleeping somewhere is the highest expression of comfort and claim safety. But that same instinct to bring themselves fully into the safest space is exactly what makes this particular risk worth knowing before it becomes relevant. And hey, if this is making you see your cat's behavior in a new way, hit subscribe. It is the best way to help other cat owners understand what their cats have been trying to tell them. 4. The separation anxiety you might be building without realizing it. Here's what most people miss entirely. Every night you spend sleeping with your cat, you are reinforcing a bond, but you may also be reinforcing something else at the same time. You may be reinforcing your cat's belief that safety only exists when you are present. Cats who co-sleep from a young age, or cats who are adopted during stressful periods and immediately given access to the owner's bed, can develop a form of attachment that is less about love and more about dependency. In feline behavioral terms, this is called anxious attachment, and it looks almost identical to deep affection on the surface. Your cat follows you from room to room. Your cat meows at the door when you're on the other side. Your cat kneads and purrs and presses against you whenever you sit still. And most owners interpret all of this as love. Some of it is, but some of it is anxiety wearing love's face, and the difference matters enormously. A 2020 study from the University of Lincoln found that some cats demonstrate attachment styles directly comparable to those studied in human infants, including insecure anxious attachment, where proximity to the attachment figure temporarily soothes the cat, but the underlying anxiety remains persistently high. To your cat, the nightly ritual of your bed, your warmth, your scent, your breathing can become a regulation tool. And when that tool is removed, when you travel, when you close the bedroom door, when your schedule changes, the cat is left without the thing they have learned to need in order to feel okay. Most owners who describe their cat as a Velcro cat, always underfoot, always needing to be close, visibly distressed during separations, assume this is simply their cat's personality. But for many of these cats, that anxious attachment was built gradually, one co-sleeping night at a time. And their cat has been telling them something was off in the excessive vocalization, in the over-grooming, in the tension visible in their posture, and most owners never connected it to the bed. 5. What your cat is quietly losing as a predator. This is where I want to introduce you to something. Think about a cat named Biscuit. Biscuit was adopted at 12 weeks old by a woman named Sarah, who immediately let him sleep on her pillow because he cried at the door and she couldn't bear it. By the time Biscuit was 2 years old, he had stopped playing independently. He had stopped patrolling the apartment the way cats naturally do. He would sit by the bedroom door if Sarah left and simply wait. He had, over 2 years of co-sleeping and constant human proximity, lost something fundamental to what makes a cat a cat. This isn't a rare story. This is actually a pattern that feline behaviorists document regularly. And what Biscuit had lost was his confidence as a predator. Here's the thing. Cats, even fully domesticated indoor cats, have a nervous system wired for independence. In the wild, a cat who could not self-soothe, who needed another presence to feel safe, was a cat who could not survive. The wiring for self-regulation, for environmental confidence, for the ability to be alone and feel secure, these are not optional features of cat psychology. They are the core of what makes a cat psychologically healthy. And co-sleeping, particularly from kittenhood, can gradually erode that core by replacing independent self-soothing with owner proximity as the primary source of emotional regulation. This goes back thousands of years of evolutionary design. Even after millennia of living alongside humans, cats are not pack animals. They are solitary hunters who choose to affiliate. That choice is meaningful precisely because it isn't compelled. When you make yourself the center of their sleep architecture from the very beginning, you may be slowly removing the very independence that makes their choice to be near you so significant. You're not receiving love freely given. You're receiving proximity built on need. And most owners never know the difference because they never gave their cat the space to show them. We will come back to Biscuit, because what Sarah discovered when she made a change is something I do not want you to miss. 6. The territorial claim you didn't agree to. Here's what is actually happening in your cat's mind when they sleep on your bed every night. Your bed is no longer your bed. In feline territorial logic, the places a cat sleeps are the places a cat owns. Not aggressively, not the way a dog guards a toy, but deeply at the level of scent marking and spatial reasoning that governs every decision a cat makes about their environment. When your cat needs your blanket, they are depositing scent from the glands in their paws. When they rub their cheek on your pillow, they are marking it with their facial pheromones. When they circle and settle and knead again, they are performing a ritual that in cat language means, this space is mine and it is safe, which sounds wonderful until you try to reclaim it. Most owners notice this as a quirk. Their cat gets annoyed when displaced from the bed, repositions insistently, occasionally swats when moved. But what most people miss is that over time, this territorial ownership can shift the dynamic in the household in ways that spill into other interactions far beyond sleep. Cats who own the sleeping space sometimes begin policing access to it. They become aggressive toward partners who try to join the bed. They escalate territorial behavior toward other pets who approach the room. They develop resource-guarding responses that owners trace back to jealousy when the deeper root is territorial logic that was built one nightly ritual at a time. To your cat, this isn't aggression. It is governance. They are maintaining the order of their known world. But most owners have been on the receiving end of that governance for years without understanding what built it or what it is quietly doing to the overall balance of their home. 7. Your cat is reading your stress and keeping score. Cats have a sensory sensitivity that most people profoundly underestimate. Their hearing can detect frequencies between 48 Hz and 85 kHz, more than twice the range of human hearing. Their sensitivity to scent is estimated to be between 14 and 20 times greater than ours. And when you are stressed, when cortisol is elevated, when your breathing is shallow and irregular, when your body's carrying tension it hasn't processed, your cat can detect it with a precision that is almost impossible to overstate. During sleep, your body processes emotional experiences. You shift, your breathing changes, stress hormones fluctuate. And Your cat, lying against you or on top of you, is registering all of it in real time. In the wild, sharing a sleep space with a distressed companion was a signal of danger. That evolutionary instinct still lives inside your domestic cat. And research has begun to document something that cat owners have long suspected. Cats who share sleep spaces with chronically stressed owners begin to show elevated stress markers themselves. A 2019 study from Linköping University found that a cat's long-term cortisol levels, measured through fur samples over time, correlated significantly with their owner's cortisol levels over the same period. Your stress is becoming your cat's stress. And most owners have no idea this transfer is happening because it doesn't present as stress. It presents as a cat who always wants to be close, a cat who follows everywhere, a cat who seems intensely focused on their owner's face and expressions. Those are not purely signs of love. Those are signs of a cat who has learned to monitor you the way a worried parent monitors a sick child and who is absorbing what they find every single night. 8. You may be missing a health signal hiding in plain sight. Here's a pattern that veterinary behaviorists see more often than you might expect. A cat begins sleeping more than usual on their owner. The owner interprets this as the cat being particularly loving, particularly bonded, particularly sweet. Months later, a routine checkup reveals a health issue that has been developing quietly for some time. And looking back, the owner realizes that the escalation in contact-seeking behavior coincided almost exactly with when the cat began to feel unwell. Cats who are in pain, or who are experiencing early organ dysfunction, or who are fighting off infection, often seek proximity as a form of self-regulation. Warmth soothes discomfort. The steady rhythm of a breathing companion is calming. In cat language, pressing against something warm and safe is what you do when your body doesn't feel right. And when that proximity is already built into the daily routine, when co-sleeping is the default, the change in behavior becomes nearly impossible to detect because the cat is just doing what they always do, except they are doing it for a different reason now. Most owners who co-sleep lose one of the most important diagnostic tools they have, the ability to notice when their cat's need for closeness escalates beyond baseline. That shift, noticed early, has sent thousands of cats to the vet in time to catch something that would otherwise have gone undetected for months. But if your cat is always that close, the signal disappears into the noise. And most owners who co-sleep will never know what they missed until well after it mattered. 9. The real meaning of what your cat has been trying to tell you. Remember earlier when I said there's one thing most co-sleeping owners will never experience? This is it. And I want to come back to Biscuit first. After 2 years of co-sleeping, Sarah decided to make a change, gradually, carefully, with guidance from a feline behaviorist. She moved Biscuit's sleeping spot to a plush bed placed on the floor on her side of the room. She used a worn t-shirt to scent it. She gave him time and held the transition gently. And at first, Biscuit cried. He scratched at the door when she closed it. He was genuinely distressed. But Sarah kept the routine warm and consistent. And over 6 weeks, something remarkable happened. Biscuit began to change. Not suddenly, gradually. He started patrolling the apartment again in the early mornings, the way he used to before the co-sleeping became his entire world. He began playing independently, batting at toys he had ignored for over a year. His vocalization reduced significantly. His vet noticed an improvement in his overall body condition. And then, one night, Sarah woke up and found Biscuit asleep on the chair beside her bed. Not on her, next to her. And he was deeply, completely, heavily asleep, the kind of slow, fully surrendered sleep that cats rarely achieve when they are anxious or dependent. Here's what most people don't realize. When a cat chooses to sleep near you in the same room, in their own space, fully aware of your presence but not relying on your contact to regulate themselves, they have arrived somewhere most co-sleeping cats never reach. They feel safe enough in this space and safe enough with you that they do not need to be touching you to be calm. In cat language, that is not a lesser form of love. That is a more complete form of security. Because love built on need will shift when the need shifts. Love built on security holds even across a room, even in silence, even in the dark. Think about that for a second. The cat who sleeps on you every night, who cannot settle unless they are against your body, may love you, yes, But they may also be afraid of what happens without you in a way that doesn't look like fear. The cat who sleeps across the room, choosing to be near but not dependent, who pads over in the morning to greet you from a place of fullness rather than urgency, that cat is telling you something deeper than comfort. They are telling you, I feel safe here. Not because you are holding me, but because you exist in this world, and I know it, and that is enough. And here's what makes this even more fascinating. Cats who develop this kind of secure, independent trust show it in the most specific and beautiful ways. They are the cats who slow blink from across the room, who sit in doorways watching you with soft, half-closed eyes, who come to find you not because they are anxious, but because they simply want to share the same space freely. That is the feline version of something most owners spend years trying to earn, and many unknowingly make impossible by always giving their cat the bed. Most co-sleeping owners go their cat's entire life without seeing this, because the bed is always there, the contact is always available, and the cat never has a chance to discover what it means to choose you freely from across the room, with nothing compelling them but love. 10. What to do instead, and why it changes everything. None of this means you should close your bedroom door tonight and let your cat cry until morning. Abrupt changes in a cat's sleep environment cause genuine stress and should never be the approach. What this means is that there's a gradual, respectful, deeply enriching alternative that most owners have never been offered, because the conversation usually stops at, is it safe to sleep with your cat, rather than what is actually best for both of you. The answer that most behavioral research points toward is this: give your cat a sleeping space within the same room, on a comfortable, scent-familiar surface, placed at a height that gives them a sense of security and a clear view of the environment. Keep the transition slow. Most behaviorists recommend 4 to 8 weeks, with each step small enough that your cat experiences the change as evolution rather than loss. Use your scent on the new surface. Keep your energy calm during the adjustment, and then pay attention, because over time, a cat given the freedom to regulate their own proximity will show you something you cannot see when the contact is always provided before they have a chance to choose it. They will show you what you actually mean to them, not what your warmth means, not what your bed means, what you mean. Cats who are transitioned this way almost universally show increased behavioral confidence over time, more independent play, reduced vocalization, a lessening of the anxious monitoring that so many owners mistake for devotion. And in the quiet of a room where a cat has chosen their own space and still decided to stay near you, that is when the bond becomes something different, something more honest, something that belongs to both of you equally, because neither of you needed it to be there. It simply is. Because here's the truth about cats that most people spend years circling without landing on. They're not creatures who give you everything and ask for nothing in return. They are creatures who give you exactly as much as they feel safe to give. And when you build a relationship where safety doesn't depend on proximity, where your cat can be across the room and still know in every cell of their ancient, quietly brilliant body that they are loved and that you are there, that is when you stop being their comfort object and you start being their home. That is what Biscuit was trying to show Sarah the whole time. Not from the pillow, from the chair, from across the room, with soft eyes, in the deep quiet of a cat who no longer needed to reach for her because he already knew she was there.